I definitely had a list of goals that I wanted to achieve, and I've actually achieved many of them, but the ones that were more like sort of career driven, like having like showing in a certain place or making a certain amount of money, like those have become less important to me than having just a life that I love and having time to create. Those have become a lot more important, and I'm glad that I sort of realized that at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, Joey. Welcome.
Hello, dear friend. How are you today?
Doing well. I am doing well. I'm glad to see you. It feels like we haven't seen each other in a long while. I don't know. There was a few weeks or some time in between
This
here.
feels
Yeah. Well, you're gonna see me and Kelly in real life in a few weeks. We'll come for a visit up there.
it's probably going to be full on summer at that point.
Well, it's full on summer here. It's pretty hot. In
We
fact,
cannot. I don't know what's happening here. It was
yeah.
80. It was 100 degrees. Not no joke. 100 degrees a week ago, and then it went back down to the 40s. And I don't know how to dress. And
No, that's terrible.
yeah, it's a
Terrible. Yeah.
nightmare. Poor me.
Cool. Well, given the few weeks that we have seen each other, what's is your algorithm changed in any way, or what do you got over there?
Wonder. I bet you it's going to be a bunch of art, but I don't know. Actually, it is. The last time we spoke, I told you it was quite negative. It had started to veer quite negative, I think. And I think I have fixed that. Let's see here. Art.
Okay.
I like the art. I've got a lot of things gearing towards Gen X memes
Or you-
If you thrift enough,
and a woman talking about thrifting,
maybe more.
which
Okay.
I'm not a huge thrifter, but I have been going on Facebook Marketplace lately to try to find a small desk. Because remember
There
the
you
whole
go.
rigmarole with me maybe sending out the sewing machine?
Yes.
I've decided I'm just going to get a small desk, so I've been on Facebook Marketplace looking for that.
Until we figure out a better way to get that sewing machine thing
That's
up
right.
there.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our cross country trip.
I know. We need to do that. That'll be an exciting content related drive. So actually, you know what's funny about this? Since we've been doing this algorithm thing. I haven't really ever paid attention to what the algorithms do until we started doing this kind of consistently, and it does change, like as time goes by. Like I always just you never really think about it, but it is actually actively changing. So, for example, I don't know why this popped up, but our first so the first thing on my Instagram is us.
Excellent. Yes.
The podcast is just popping up, so apparently that's a thing. So I don't. That's good. I'm going to accept that so that it spreads it around. And then what else do I got here? I got that's an ad. I don't want to talk about that. This is a new one. Vermin Control Scotland. I don't know how this popped up, but it's a
How
guy
did
who shoots rabbits and rats with a pellet gun. It started popping up some way. I don't enjoy
fascinating.
it, but they're showing it to me like crazy now because I must have lingered on it too long. And then the third thing, which is this guy here, who isn't, I don't know if it's a real person or not. It must be David Cohn, who's got an AI version of himself, and he gives us like Palm Beach related real estate and like kind of economic updates going on. So that's interesting because the information that he's giving is very like technical, and it's an AI obviously, even if it's a real guy who's been now like AIified. So somebody's producing that for him and putting that out all the time, and apparently he's getting, let me see what he's got in terms of views. Yeah, he's got like 5,000 followers or something, but it's actually really good because it's always really good specific information, so it's actually super helpful. So
Sounds
shout
like
out
you
to
have veered away from the sugar babies and more into some
look, I'm
informational
scrolling.
stuff.
I'm scrolling. No sugar babies. Here's one. So they're about 8 down.
Okay. Okay.
8
So would
down.
you say it's more or less positive than the last time we spoke? Or do you ever go through periods with your algorithm where you're like, God, this is just bringing me down? It doesn't seem like you're one of those
No,
people. Yeah.
no, I don't. I don't get on too much negative stuff. Oh, I love this guy. Did I already tell you? Did I already show you this guy? Shout out to
No.
this
Yeah.
guy.
Oh, yes. Actually, yes. Yes.
So this dude's hilarious. If you guys, I don't know if you can read it. His name is Paul Bryson 02. Paul Bryson 02. He's a motivational like coach guy, and like he never has a shirt on, and he always slaps his chest. I might have already told you this, but I don't know. I just think he's hilarious the way that he does his presentation, and he says good stuff too. There you go. And then of course I got some other various. Here's another sugar baby one. So
Yeah, it's
they're mixed
fascinating.
in.
You seem to have a lot more positive things. I don't know what it is that I click on that veers me toward, and I don't know if it's my mood first or the algorithm first. It's hard to tell.
Right. But you don't even know.
Yeah.
Because it could be that your iPhone is listening to you talk about something totally
I know.
unrelated and then making an assumption and then sending the data to over here and then it gets back to Instagram and who
Well,
knows?
I was thinking about the vermin shooting because you and Kelly probably speak quite a lot about the vermin shooting in Florida. Speaking of, why don't we bring Kelly in and see if she has any vermin related news for us?
Kelly's here. Grab your shades. It's a wild, weird Florida day.
That was a very forced segue. Thank you very much.
But that was the
Segue,
first
Kelly.
thing I wanted to say when he started speaking about the vermin. The thing I wanted to say was, you probably got that because you're talking to Kelly about shooting alligators.
Right.
Okay, I
In
wasn't sure
Florida.
where you were going with that one.
Speaking,
It's like apparently
speaking of vermin, here's Kelly.
Where's
vermin,
Kelly?
bring in the rat catcher.
What's I thought of you, dear friend. Hi, Kels.
Oh, hello. My new PTV app is not letting me look at my bookmarks. So all the stuff that I bookmarked, I can't access. So I have to go through it like manually. But that's all right. I figured it out. So, okay, so this is our normal kind of Palm Beach local news. The first one that I wanted to bring up today was the headline is Family Afraid to Go Outside Amid Daily Golf Ball Barrage. Barrage?
Barrage. Oh
We
my
can't use our
God.
backyard anymore. Family spends thousands to shield property from daily golf bar barrage. Palm Beach County family lives near Boynton Beach. The danger outside their home is not hurricane season or South Florida storms. It's golf balls.
Yeah, that does sound like a nightmare.
Westchester Country Club golf course. Stray shots are going into their yard, breaking car windows, leaving the father afraid for his 18-month-old twins. I mean, this is pretty crazy. Oh no! And now suddenly it wants me to listen to that was an advertisement. Sorry guys, that threw me a little bit. The best part about this whole thing, so we can't use our backyard anymore. Like we are even afraid to go outside. His backyard sits directly behind the Westchester Country Club golf course west of Boynton Beach, and he says for months golf balls have been flying onto his property almost daily. I find like 5 golf balls in one day. The issue has escalated beyond inconvenience. He's concerned for the safety of his family. This is really interesting though. So he's installed a 6-foot-tall fence and a large protective net, and yet golf balls continue to land in his yard. He believes that the issue may stem from the design of a specific hole on the golf course. Of course, there is a curve, so when they hit straight, the ball doesn't make the curve, and it comes straight into our homes. This is a good one, though. In an email response to Loyola, I guess one of the people, Westchester Country Club acknowledged his concerns and said that the course predates the surrounding homes.
I would think so.
We've been here since 1990, well before the surrounding residential properties were developed, the response read in part. It also takes the matter seriously and plans to increase awareness amongst golfers and staff.
I think anyone paying attention to this podcast and is looking to hustle some really bad golf players, I think the Westchester Country Club would be the place to go and hustle golf players since they can't keep their balls on the green.
That's
Just saying.
fantastic.
That's where
I mean,
would
I
go.
get it. It's one of those things, I don't know, I feel kind of like there's a little bit of like the golf course was there already, and then whose fault is it? Is it the developer who put the house like directly in the line of this kind of shitty golf hole, or is it the shitty golf hole and the shitty golfers on the shitty golf course? I mean, like, right? What comes
other
first, which
questions.
is chicken or the egg? Discuss.
I have an opinion.
Okay, bring it on.
Okay.
Well, the golf course was there first.
That's how I feel too.
I mean,
Where's the NIMBYs? Where's the NIMBYs when it comes for golf courses? Because the golf
But
course was already there.
don't
And they
you-
could have been like, we don't want these houses in our backyard of this golf course.
Isn't that something you'd think you'd need to disclose, though? Like, don't you have to disclose if someone has died in a house? Even though, like,
yeah, I mean, but no one's died by
everyone's-
golf ball yet.
no,
right?
I'm just saying, isn't that something one would need to
you?
disclose? Like, hey, just so you know, like when someone is buying the house, just so you know, this is adjacent to a
I think I would say that every house on a golf course has golf balls hitting it at some point.
I would
right,
agree.
Kelly? I mean, we've had houses on golf courses, and they've all gotten balls.
Yeah,
in the
I mean,
yard
not
at some
5 a
point.
day. I would say that seems quite. That's
well,
pretty excessive, but
I'm actually interested if you have to disclose when somebody dies in a house.
I think you do.
When
If you
someone
are
dies
asked,
in the house,
I
maybe no.
believe
Wait, what happens
so.
if someone dies a natural death in the house? Why do you have to disclose that?
I
Now, if
don't
it's a
know.
violent murder, maybe you do,
I don't
right?
know the answer to that, but I
Let me,
think you do.
You find
okay.
anything?
ChatGPT says, in Florida, generally, no. You do not legally have to disclose that someone died in a house. Property is not considered a material fact.
But that's just Florida.
Yeah, it could be totally different in New York. Totally.
Chet,
Fascinating.
ask
In
about
New
New
York,
York.
in New York, isn't people dying in a house something akin to golf balls in your yard in Florida?
I would think that like someone has died in every single place. Yes,
I would
it's all
think.
haunted. Yes.
Yeah.
It's
So,
all matter.
age of buildings and such.
Okay.
What
All right,
else you
shall I
got
move
for
on?
us, Kels?
Moving on. Next one. This is a good one. This I'm actually very excited about. Palm Beach Zoo is relaunching its capybara experience this summer, featuring a pup trio. So, Joey, this sounds like a trip that you may have to come. The Palm Beach Zoo is preparing to launch an enhanced capybara experience this summer, offering visitors the opportunity to meet its beloved capybara family, including 3 recently named babies. The capybara trio, born in March, are now visible to guests for most of each day in their expanded habitat. Devin Clark, who directed the show that I was in at the Lake Worth Playhouse, is a supervisor at the Palm Beach Zoo, says the babies have grown substantially and are becoming more active and social. Here you'll be able to see them for the majority of the day, which is really amazing. And they've been introduced to their new roommates, the tapirs, that live in the yard with them. The babies, which are named Aries, Artemis, and Apollo, spend much of their time playing in and around the water feature of their habitat, providing entertainment for viewers. The extended viewing hours are possible. 2 of the babies, Apollo, blah, 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 blah. For visitors, okay, this is what happened to the capybara experience part. It's going to be an attraction for families this summer. More details about launch date and admission will be available on the zoo's website. So I think my understanding of the capybara experience is you pay an extra fee and you get to feed the capybaras if they want to. I think that's the concept of it. I don't think you're just seeing them.
I'm going to ask us.
You don't know what a capybara is? Oh,
No.
It's the rats of unusual size, right, Kelly?
Is it really?
you know, I mean, this is not a good.
Yes. Rodents
It's
of
not-
unusual size. Yes.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
it.
not a very great. This is not a great picture, but let me see. No, you're not gonna be able to see anything.
No.
That doesn't work.
It's like a giant rodent.
It's like a giant
Yeah.
hamster or giant gerbil. It's like a giant gerbil.
Looks like the ones from Princess Bride, basically, just a little less scary.
Yeah, they're not as scary. They're
From
not
where
as
do these creatures originate?
Gosh, this you're just
It's
asking all.
mostly on the internet now. They're super popular. It's like you got to give Palm Beach Zoo credit for leaning into a fad, I guess.
Capybaras, they are rodents, and they are from South America. They're in all South American, largest living rodent, native to all countries in South America except Chile. It's a semi-aquatic herbivore that inhabits savannas and dense forests, living near and in bodies of water and feeding mainly on grasses and aquatic plants. Its close relatives are the guinea pigs and the rock cabbies, and they are more distantly related to the agouti, the chinchilla, and the nutria. It's a highly social species that lives in groups of 10 to 12 individuals, but can be found in groups as large as 100. It's hunted for its meat and hide and grease from its thick, fatty skin.
Boy, we went dark. Yeah.
That was Wikipedia, that last little bit. Although honestly, I probably, if I were a species that was hunted, I probably would be hunted for my thick, fatty skin as well. So
I saw that one brewing in
I
your
know,
brain as
that
it was
was
coming
almost
out.
good. I had
It
to
was
say
like,
it.
here it comes.
All right. Any Cappy comments, or you want me to move on?
No, my only comment is that I did search that, and it does turn out that, yeah, they're a good source of meat, I guess. People are eating them all the time.
Capybara meat,
They do
okay.
look, I mean, they look like kind of like Vietnamese pigs. They're kind of like that shape and size. They're not as bulky as that, but so yeah, I wonder what a capybara tastes like.
Are they considered a pest?
I don't think so. I think they're just a land animal, like maybe like a rabbit or something. Although I guess rabbits can be considered pests, apparently in Scotland.
Vermin, exactly.
See, we come full circle.
You shoot him with a pellet gun. One other comment about the capybara. I would like you to suggest to Devin, was his name, I believe, at the zoo. Suggest that when they say the launch date of the capybara experience, that includes launching. I thought they were like, when I heard
Launching
launch,
capybara.
we're gonna launch him over the wall or something. I
So
mean,
glad.
that would get some attention.
I mean, that's a pretty good AI thing. That seems like something that the Palm Beach Zoo could work on from an AI perspective, right?
Launch
I mean, how
experience.
simple is
I
that?
have a friend, no joke, a man I've done shows with and who has directed shows
Okay.
up at Hudson Valley, who has, I forget what he calls it, but it's a squirrel launcher, essentially, because he had so many squirrels in his backyard. He created a device that when they land on it, it launches them. It's awful.
I bet that's probably super fun to watch. That sounds like a morning
I
coffee
think it
sort
probably
of thing to
is.
do.
I think that's exactly what he does. Yes.
I would
Yep.
believe it. I would believe it.
Another house disclosure that we've discovered in that area. They have to disclose the squirrels in the backyard.
Squirrels. That's right.
There you go. There you go. All right, last one. This is kind of an interesting one. Stuart man found guilty of performing cosmetic surgeries without a license. A jury found, this is an old, I feel like this happened a long time ago. A jury found a Stuart man guilty of racketeering, aggravated battery, and practicing medicine without a license after a week-long trial. Adley da Silva faces charges of performing cosmetic surgery while only a physician's assistant. Numerous women had reached out claiming physical and mental anguish after undergoing botched surgeries at Cosmetica Plastic Surgery in Port St. Lucie. The facility was shut down in 2023. He will be sentenced in June and could face decades behind bars. I kind of
Yeah.
remember when this came out. I don't remember what the deal was with him, but I remember when it
Is he
came
the
out.
one that also looks like he's like 23? Is it the same guy?
It's possible. It's possible. I mean, this is going to require, let me do a little bit more.
I mean, I guess you'd want to go to the person that looks fantastic.
Yeah, he
You
probably
know,
told people he's
that's the,
25.
the irony. I don't think he does look fantastic. So, what is this guy? Adley da Silva. Sorry, there's a little bug going around. That's why I did that weird sort of thing. Stuart Mann found guilty. That was 2 days ago. Adley da Silva. I mean, this is okay. Wait, this is, it's the law. I'm not going to do that. That's an interesting sort of thing. Apparently, the law person. Trial underway for man charged in Port St. Lucie. I mean, this is kind of, it's not really, he was not authorized to perform the procedures. Why would they do this? The money was good.
All right, so that's one of those things too that I always look at. It's like, I've been involved in a lot of different businesses, and I worked so hard to make those businesses work. Maybe I should have just started a plastic surgery business and like made the prices cheap, and then apparently people just show up to like turn their face over to you. I don't get it.
Well, wasn't there another one that I showed at one point of like a plastic surgery, like in
Yeah.
like they were getting Botox and the ladies like
This happens.
the back
It
chin?
happens all the time. Like people are like so willing to like, oh, this normally costs some dollars and we're going to do it for half price. Okay, I'll go to that guy. Like what? I don't know. I kind of feel like you get what you get in that scenario.
I mean, yeah, this, yeah.
It's all unfortunate. There's so many icky feelings behind it. Somebody wants to feel better about themselves, but they can't quite afford to do it to the extent that they want. So, I mean, it's all,
That's
yeah.
true.
I don't like any of it.
Have you ever had plastic surgery, Joe?
No. I once
any of your
busted
friends?
open my eye
Yeah.
and had to call in a plastic surgeon in the emergency room to sew it up.
Me too. What happened?
that's-
When was that?
That was Halloween of, I want to say, like 2007, and I was dancing up on a bar, and someone knocked me over, and I fell off the bar into the corner of a table.
Was it Jim Beam that knocked you off?
I think it was Smirnoff that night. I think it was Mr. Smirnoff. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
I had plastic surgery just on a couple of moles removed. Mole be gone, right? But one of them worked really well. The other one's a little bit, you can't really see, but it's a little bit like it pulled. I mean, this guy was actually legit, the guy that I went to. So
As far as we know.
as far as we know, until we find out, I won't say his name.
I think I'm scared. I haven't done anything else. And my friends haven't really done anything either. I think we're all we're just trepidatious. I want to be able to move my face as an actor. I want to be able to
Yes.
move. And no judgment to people who decide they want to do that. It's an individual decision. I just like my face to move.
Yeah. Well, it would make a difference. So, all right, there you
Awesome.
go. That's what I saw. That was the interesting local news happening.
Thanks, friend.
You're welcome. All right.
Love you, miss you.
Miss you. Love you, miss you. All right, you guys have fun.
Awesome. Well, there's that. That's the Palm Beach News. Should we bring out Molly now and learn about Molly and her story?
Please, let's.
Let's do it.
Hi,
Hey,
Molly.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good. Doing well.
Fantastic.
I'm sorry that we were rambling a little longer than we usually do. We were really excited about the news today.
I enjoyed listening to it.
Awesome, awesome.
Please tell
Cool.
me how you
Well,
two
look,
know each other.
that's a good question. So Molly and I met because the Palm Beach Culture Council, right? Is that the official name? The Palm Beach Culture Council introduced us because I have a project that I'm working on in the town just south of West Palm called Lake Worth, for those people who don't know. And so Molly and I connected on that project because we have a lot of art and like performance and all that stuff kind of incorporated into that concept that we're trying to go. And Palm Beach Culture Council said that Molly is a leader in the industry down here, and so that's how we connected.
Wow, that's flattering.
So Molly, why don't you tell us a little bit, just to kind of get it all out there? Why would the Palm Beach Culture Council tell me that? Like, tell us a little bit about how that came
Sure,
about.
of course. Well, I grew up in Palm Beach County, so I've been here for a long time. And I left for college and grad school, but I moved back in 2018. And since I moved back, I started working at a gallery and teaching at, a local college, which I've really loved. And I've found that it's been really hard to find studio space for artists here. And I had a space for a few years in Northwood. I found this warehouse early in 2020, and I converted it into my studio and was able to like subdivide it and have another artist in there too. But after putting all of the work into it, I got priced out of my space, which happens so often to artists.
Yeah.
And I saw all of these empty buildings around still, and so I started calling numbers, asking everyone that I knew if there was any space available. But I just didn't want that to happen again. I didn't want to, invest time and energy into creating a beautiful space and then have to leave so quickly again. So I was asking for a free space, and everyone that I asked for, that I asked this of, said that, good luck with that. But eventually someone called me and they connected me with this developer who's redeveloping the waterfront on Flagler, Savannah. And they offered this building to me for a few years. They're going to tear it down. They're tearing down a lot of the older buildings, but this one is in good shape. I'm in it now. And so I was able to, put in a little bit of work into this space, but I created artist studios for women artists in Palm Beach County and West Palm Beach. And then we have a workshop, sort of hybrid exhibition space so that artists can, come up with creative ideas. And I don't know, it's a lower stakes situation because we're just covering the utilities, and so we have a lot of freedom. Yeah, there's been a great response to it in the community too, and it was a good lesson for me just to, if you have an idea, it's even if people say that it can't be done, like it doesn't mean that you can't do it.
I mean, it sounds, from the little bit I know about your career, just from kind of like reading around on the internet, it sounds like creating that space was like one thing that you've done where you kind of just went out and did it. I mean, but that's not the first time you did that. I mean, you're being an artist to some degree is always putting yourself out there and just like, okay, here's what I'm doing because I want to do it. Let's see who jumps on board, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your focus in terms of art, studio, and all that stuff.
Sure. Well, my background is in painting and also in graphic design, and I still do both of those things. And I like to incorporate those processes that I've learned into my studio now. So I'll hand mix paint from like raw pigment from the earth and, to create like watercolors, but I'll also photograph, things that I see in nature, like caves. I'm really into scuba diving, hiking, and so I'll source imagery that way too. And then I'll combine the physical and digital processes together into two-dimensional artworks, but also sculptures, installations, and public art projects as well.
Awesome. How do you connect with the public art projects, that sort of stuff? I saw you did some pretty cool stuff with that. Like, how do those relationships get built?
Thank you. Well, the first one I did was for Miami-Dade County for their Department of Cultural Affairs. And I had applied for the Cultural Consortium Fellowship, which is for South Florida-based artists, which I did end up getting. But when I first applied, I didn't get it. But they responded and they were like, oh, you should really apply for these public art projects. I think your work would translate well. And so I did apply for one, and I ended up getting it. And for that project, it was open to artists based in South Florida, and you just submit images and your resume, and then they create a short list. And then from there, you create a proposal and present it to a committee. And I worked with architects and designers and the developers, and it was a really fun project to have a larger budget than I'm used to working with, and to have a work that's permanently installed in a space that people see every day. That really, I think that was an important step in helping me even get to the studio project that I have now, of just,
Yeah.
working in a more like immersed in the community in a different way. And then I've worked with the city of West Palm as well. And actually the Jessica Ransom, who's with the Cultural Council of Palm Beach County, she had connected me with Sibile, who's the director of public art for West Palm. And she saw my studio and she's like, oh, you should meet Sibile. So that's how I've ended up working with them.
Awesome.
When you
Awesome.
when you first started studying art, did you decide, was making public art in your purview at the beginning, or you just sort of it just sort of evolved?
No, it wasn't at all. I mean, honestly, I've been making art since I was a little kid. I've just always liked to draw, and then I ended up studying graphic design in college, and then went for graduate school, went more into fine art. But public art, that came later, after grad school. But I would say when I was in grad school and I started working more in installation and sort of merging my work with the existing architecture, like in my studio or around the college, that sort of gave me the idea of how I could sort of embed my work in unexpected places and transform the world around me.
I love that.
Right, at least visually.
I also went to grad school for acting, and the one thing that I wish, well, there are a few things I wish they had focused on, but there's something I wish we had talked about more, was finances and money.
Yeah.
The money that you need to be an artist, and how to create art on a shoestring, or how to manipulate your finances. Were you taught anything like that in grad school?
No, I think we had one person who came in. She was an alum from the program, and she worked for a gallery, and she came in to help us with like pricing our work, and she did talk a little bit about it, but it was like, one
It's
2 hour
weirdly
workshop.
taboo, right? It's weird
Yeah,
that we don't
it
want
is.
to talk about it in the arts. It's so strange.
I know it is for sure. I think one thing that helped me was that I studied graphic design in college, which is so much more practical. And the reason I did it, I was like, I need to be able to support myself. I knew I wanted to be an artist too, but I was like, I don't really know how I could, make that work yet, at least. So that I think gave me a practical way of looking at things, and I've just sort of continued doing that. But there's not, I mean, there is some support available. I mean, of course you can, sell your work, and I'm sure it's really different with acting too. There are ways to make it work, but for me, it helps a lot to have, of course, grants and sales, all of that helps. But I mean, I am really lucky that I also have a great job working for a gallery that I love. And sometimes I teach at a college in Miami as an adjunct. So I
Wonderful.
don't have as much pressure to just survive on the art alone. I did try doing that for a while. And even though I had a lot more time, the sort of pressure that it put on my practice, I don't know, it didn't work for me creatively. So I like having the freedom to do whatever I want without the pressure to like support my life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. So any type of entrepreneurial journey, there's always a certain amount of like, when you've got stability, at least for me, I can speak for myself in this regard. When things are more stable, it's easier to be creative and think outside the box and come up with like new things, or like chase things down. Yeah, considering that in your, whether it's an artistic venture or an entrepreneurial venture, or, I mean, I kind of think they're sort of the same thing, frankly. I don't think there's a lot of variation there. Just it's kind of what you're doing is different, but it's the same path essentially. Yeah, I think it's a matter of trying to balance what's like affecting you internally, that's based off of the decisions you're making in your external environment, right? So I think some people make their life more difficult. Like to your point, Joey, about people not talking about the finances. I think a lot of times the reason that they don't do that is because it's kind of it's an uncomfortable subject for people who want to kind of ignore it, because they want to really focus on this thing over here. And it's okay, I'll just focus on this thing over here. But the reality is you have to consider these things because it's just kind of how life works. And so if you just ignore it, you're making your job harder in the thing you actually do want to do by not taking into account all the aspects of what you'll be dealing with as an artist or as an entrepreneur. Yes, you're just staying on top of those things.
I would agree. Would you say, Dan, that as an entrepreneur, like it doesn't sound to me like you've had any trouble talking to people about money, or that you were not, or maybe I'm just making this up. It doesn't, you seem a lot more comfortable with it. And I feel like up until my generation, certainly in the arts, we weren't really, we were actually discouraged from talking
Correct.
about art, or about
Yeah.
money.
Yeah. No, I think that's true. I think it. Yeah, I think that industry. I mean, look, I was a theater major for one semester, my first semester of college. So obviously, and I've got an art background beyond that as well from our time in Chicago in the theater and such. And it's a cultural thing that seems to be embedded amongst the creative and art community that we don't talk about those things where the obviously the business community or like accountants or MBAs or finance people, like it's just in the nature of what they're doing anyway. So of course they're going to talk about it. And I think that's where where the art community and industry kind of screws younger artists, if you want, by kind of like not, or kind of like implanting that mindset because it just, again, it just makes people's lives harder by not considering this very important detail of how like life is going to be. I don't know. What do you think, Molly, about any of that?
I mean, I think I was thinking a little bit more about Joey, like what you said about it being actively discouraged and just how throughout, like when I was in school, the word commercial was like a really bad word to describe any kind of artwork. Like it shouldn't be something that someone wants to buy. But ultimately, like you do want it to be in someone's, I don't know, you want it to be in the world somehow. You want people to connect with it. And I think it does make sense that you don't want to make something that just looks like you could have just bought it at Target or something, obviously. Like you want it to be, from your heart, from your spirit, like about something deeper for sure. But that can be meaningful and something that someone wants to, collect. But also, like, I think maybe there's just a lot of differences in like people's backgrounds. And I think some people have a lot of family support and maybe don't want other people to know about that. And then I do feel like it's like a taboo subject because not everyone's on equal ground. And that sort of plays out later, after school. Like some people have a lot of student loans that they have to work on paying back. I had them, and other people don't have to worry about it. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it definitely was a taboo subject. But then I think that we could do a much better job, teaching younger people that it is something you actually have to contend with. I mean, I know I try to talk to my students about it.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. I totally agree. And I'm trying to be more vocal just within, I think I've talked about this before, just within a cast. Like, hey, we're all making the same amount of money here, right? Like just,
Right.
when there was one contract, I think I've told this story before, but there was one contract where it was in the contract, everyone's getting paid the same amount. And I just had a weird feeling about it. And one day I said, this is how much I'm making. We're all making the same amount, right? And 3 different cast members were making $100 less. And so got their agents on it. And like, even just little things like that. It's like, there's moments where I feel like we need to be a little more vocal about it. I don't know.
Yeah. Molly, when you think about like painting, for example, and then you said the word commercial, one of the things that I find interesting about like in our apartment up in New York that we have up there, Kelly and I bought a piece down here in Florida from an artist woman that we met, like the Aubrey or something. Like they do the fair, and we just walked around. We were like, oh, we love this piece, and we bought it, and then we shipped it up there, right? And so when we did that, we were talking about how there's something about when you know the person, for me anyway, and for Kelly, but when you know the person who actually did it, it's kind of like it's a little bit like theater is the same way, right? Like there's a certain amount of like you're actually connected to the people doing the work. And so in your estimation, is there a way, have you seen an example of like a studio artist who, as they got bigger, were able to maintain almost like a connection to their audience or whatever, or is it by its very necessity, once you're commercialized, it's target art. Like, and then it just looks like target art, and that's why it's commercial, because it's accessible to so many people or something.
Well, something doesn't have to be like target art to be successful for sure. I mean, that's like a different market. Like if you want something to be a lower price point that is accessible to a lot of people, that's one business strategy for sure. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. And then there's work that's accessible to fewer people for like a higher price point. And I think in either case, I think artists could still connect with their audiences. As some, I don't think really want to be very social, and I think that's fine too. But some artists are really good about like going to their own openings and going to other people's openings. I think showing up for other artists is like a really good way to do that. And so some people are really good at social media too, at connecting with people that
Yeah.
way. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Social
not.
media definitely. Yeah.
Sorry.
Social media definitely adds another layer of your art is one thing and you're judged on that, but then you're also kind of judged on your ability to manage social media, because if you're really good at managing social media, you're able to like elevate the eyeballs and audience's interaction with the art part of it. So then it becomes like, if you're good at both and you're willing to focus on both, you have, it's kind of like one of those advantages of, hey, one group has money that they don't have to have student loans and they don't have to worry about that. Well, if you have social media skill and like ability to focus on that and do that well, like that's another kind of unrelated advantage, I would say.
For sure. Yeah, and that's a personality thing, I think. I mean, I
Yeah,
go through phases with it. Sometimes I like to do it, and then I'll
Right.
go months without engaging at all. So I'm not consistent, and I know that the algorithm does not reward that for sure.
correct. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
yeah. My problem with it is as all these guys who are watching this thing know, is that I have a hard time on social media taking anything, being serious on social media, because I see so many like entrepreneurial business people who do all this like serious like business talk, and then it just annoys me. Like it's like, oh my God, like they're all saying the same thing and it's just so self-righteous and all this kind of stuff. And so, yeah, it's hard for me to play that traditional social media game with like in my area of business. So that's kind of what this conversation is about, this podcast and all the other stuff we're doing brand wise, is to try to like figure out how to be interesting and out there in a way that is like authentic, frankly, I mean, to me, because I have to kind of do it the most, I guess, so that that way people can, so I can be true to myself and produce something that's also interesting and entertaining, and it is like, gets the eyeballs on it so we can accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. So it's weird.
yeah. Well, and especially if you enjoy doing it, like you said, if it's authentic to you and something that you love doing and sharing with someone, with your
Yeah.
audience, then that's a win-win for
Yeah.
everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. My son and I are working on AI Dan. So basically it's the AI version of me, and actually it looks pretty good. And that way then Winston can kind of just control and basically be like, here now Dan's gonna fight a gorilla. So cool, I don't have to personally fight the gorilla, and like we can do all the fun stuff, and it can be more creative and crazy, and it's less. I could be direct as me when I want to be, but otherwise we can have AI Dan do crazy things. I don't know. See how that goes.
I'm glad that's
What do you
all
think about
you.
that? What do you think about that, Joey? If AI Dan is successful, maybe we'll have a AI Joey at some point, and you could go
Ooh,
do jobs while sitting on the beach.
ooh. I don't
I
know.
know, I
I,
know,
I get
I
I
know you don't
get
want
real
to
weird about that.
do. That's why I brought it up.
I get real weird about it. I don't. I think there's something cool about it when it's fun and like algorithms. When it's just on Instagram but when it starts getting into the like, hey, let's create a whole performance with an AI generated actor. I get real weird about that. I think we're just sapping so much humanity out. But I don't.
Did
I
you get?
wouldn't want you to fight a gorilla. I wouldn't want you, Dan, to fight a gorilla. So in order to see
Oh, thank
this,
you.
I
Yeah.
understand we need to create AI.
Did you see? Um, the Andreessen was on Joe Rogan, and he was talking about the productivity of coders with AI over like the last 6 months to a year, or whatever it is. And everyone was saying like, that's it. We don't need coders anymore. They're all going to be laid off, blah, blah, blah. And it's actually the opposite is happening because they're so productive with AI. Like they're like literally like 20 times more productive. The coders are more in demand because they can work on all this stuff that they otherwise wouldn't be able to work on, right? When you have limited time and ability to execute, you have to choose what projects you're going to work on very carefully. But hey, now everybody's 20 times more productive. So coders are working on stuff that they would have like that's way down the list. So their productivity is like through the roof. And so somebody who was making 300 grand as a coder and based on their incentive structure might be making $2 million now because they're running like 20 AIs, side by side to produce all this output. So I wonder if there isn't going to be some sort of version of that in the art and creative space, like, hey, like, so like you're saying, Joey, like, we don't want to make replace a person. Well, if we replace a person in like the old Hollywood model, yeah, that's a little bit maybe doesn't work. But maybe if we replace a person or we duplicate a person, maybe that's a better way to say it. So a person can operate and be in 20 different places at once. You just end up with more. The question is, will you strip demand? I guess is maybe the question. I don't know.
I think you're also stripping some humanity out of it.
Yeah, well, maybe. Or maybe the ones that win are the ones that can keep the humanity in it. Maybe that's the golden nugget.
It's similar with the visual arts, I think too. I think there's a lot of if you can just create an AI book cover, then why hire a book artist? I think AI has not caught up to something that makes me feel anything for the most
I
part.
feel the same way. I'm resistant to it as well, Joey. And I think that, I mean, if we can use it for the boring tasks no one really wants to do anyway, that's great. But like creativity, that's like one thing we actually really thrive at and something that we really love doing. And
Yeah.
I don't want to just like give that over to AI. And like you said, Dan, like even if there is, and I think there will be just like so much AI production in, in the arts and with videos, or it'll just be too much to sift through. And maybe at some point it'll be really good. I don't know. But I would rather have something that is very human and, has those mistakes that a human would make that actually comes from life experience and emotion. And I think that will sort of rise to the top. And, we can hopefully just choose to engage with that if we want.
Yeah.
And
It's why when music streaming like Napster and all that, how the music industry shifted from, oh, DVDs are dead. The music industry is going to totally, it didn't go away. It just rejiggered to be now it's where'd they make all their money on concerts and live. People want to see the real person. So I think to your point, Molly, it's going to be a lot of people are going to seek out the stuff that connects back to a real person over the stuff that's just like AI all the time. I think probably
yeah,
how
I
it's
think
going to
so
go.
too. And like you were saying, Dan, like the connecting to your audience, like the story behind the person, the artist that you met at the Armory Art Center, like you connected to that person and their story, and that's part of the reason the work is meaningful and the reason that you want to have it. So, we can hang on to that for sure.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
find myself in my own work since I've become more and more like I have all of these like drawings and paintings, but I've been using all of these digital processes for the last few years, and now I'm like resisting that, and I'm like I just want to make everything by hand really slowly now. So I'm sort of my practice is changing in response to all of this,
It's
to be honest.
fascinating.
Yeah.
yeah. I'm trying to think of another example. And I guess a good example of that people have already proven that they're willing to pay for is like guys that like produce and build old cars, right? Like the guys who take the old like cars and then they restore them and they do all that work themselves and then somebody buys it or they drive it or someone else buys it. I mean, look, it's a lot cheaper and easier to just go buy a new car or buy a new used car, whichever the case may be. That's probably better, like 30 times, 100 times better than that restored car that somebody kind of put their hands on. But that's a whole industry and a whole market itself. Yeah, I don't. It's funny when people talk about AI, they do talk very like extremes, like, oh, it's going to make everything perfect and it's going to destroy everything. And it's probably actually like any other technology that everything will adjust and I think it'll just end up being the same world we're in now, just with more AI. But we'll find our way, as humans.
It's been interesting the backlash in, have you seen commencement speeches? A lot of
No,
people have been doing commencement speeches where they talk about, AI has been, and this is where I'm like, read the room. These are speeches being given at arts and humanities colleges around the country, and they're being told, AI is going to make this all easier for you. And everybody's like, no, no, don't take my art away from me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there'll always be room for us philosophers, right?
That's
They're not
right.
going to be able to do that.
Molly, I'm
I don't
really
know. Like,
interested in what used to look successful to me when I was just starting out is very different from what success looks like now. Have you had a similar experience as an artist? Like, what did you think when you were 20 years old and
Yeah,
just getting out
for
of school?
sure.
What did life look like to you?
I definitely had a list of goals that I wanted to achieve, and I've actually achieved many of them, but the ones that were more like sort of career driven, like having like showing in a certain place or making a certain amount of money, like those have become less important to me than having just a life that I love and having time to create. Those have become a lot more important, and I'm glad that I sort of realized that at this point.
Yeah.
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 And it's not like I don't have other, professional goals too. I still have them, but it's become more like in service to a creative life.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
It's funny how many people don't realize that as they as they get older, it seems like it kind of bifurcates. Like some people pick like learn. I've learned that as well through my journey that being successful and miserable all the time is not a successful by like whatever standards, and then also being miserable is not successful. Doesn't matter. Like if you're not happy with your day-to-day routine or how you live your life or the problems that you create for yourself, because we all create problems. Like we just get to choose which problems we want to deal with all the time. And if we choose the problems that are light to deal with or that are mostly tolerable, then I think we're doing pretty well. That's my definition of like, success. Choose the things that give you the most joy, and then whatever problems come along with that, they're hopefully the most tolerable.
Yeah.
What about you, Joey? How has your your vision of success changed?
It's interesting. There was this great acting teacher named Uta Hagen back in the 50s and 60s who said the reason that you start acting is not the reason you stay. And I 100% agree. I think I started acting because I certainly enjoyed the attention. I liked being the center of things. I liked showing off what I could do. And I loved the applause at the end of the night. And now I could completely skip curtain call. I could completely skip it and just be fine. I like feeling connected to an audience in the moment, and then I don't need the adulation. In fact, I would actually prefer that people leave me alone at the end of a performance, which I think part of that is age and evolving as a human being. I just don't need the validation as much. I don't need outside forces telling me I'm successful as much. And success my life does not look the way I thought it was going to look, but that's neither good nor bad. It's just different. I still feel successful. It just doesn't look like I thought it would. Would you say something similar?
Definitely.
Yeah.
But that's, wisdom and growth. I think that's a good thing for sure. Yeah. Are you, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
So it sounds like you're a live theater actor.
That's primarily where I've made my living. I'd love to do more television just because you make more money that way. But I've been primarily a theater actor most
That's
of my
amazing.
career. Yeah.
What are
yeah.
some things that you've been in?
Television-wise, you could see me on Blacklist, various Laws and Order,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. Yeah. Just little bit parts, yeah. And then I did a lot of off-Broadway.
Okay, oh, cool. Next time I'm in New York, I'd love to. I don't know how often you're
Please.
performing, but I'd love to come see you.
Well, not recently anything, but the last show I did was off-Broadway. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
I'm excited to see your public works.
Thanks.
I read something about them looking like sentinels or like guarding over the neighborhood. I love that idea. And they look very similar to your paper sculptures. Like you do these graphite paper sculptures. Yes, that exactly. Right? That's kind of what they look like, right?
Exactly. I don't think I've read what you're referring to. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was sort of, I had this impulse to just draw I have this big stick of graphite, and I don't know, wanted to like cover a sheet of paper in graphite, like, I don't know, for some reason. And then I started folding it into these geometric shapes and started creating these forms. And then it's so easy to imagine them made out of metal outside. And so that's what I did for the city of West Palm, which in Northwood, the neighborhood here, they're at a public park, which I love. I love that, people can just walk by and see these weird, I don't even know what to call them, but they're like these weird creatures. I call them tessellations. They feel kind of like they crawl around. Yeah, thank you. The one that I did in Miami is a lot more sort of more like a painting. They're embedded in a wall, and so they're these large, like 5-foot diameter circles, and I used images from my paintings, but it's sort of referencing bioluminescence in the water. If you go a little bit north of here and you're like going kayaking under a new moon, it's so beautiful just seeing the glowing bioluminescent algae in the water. It's one of my favorite things to do here in Florida. And so, inspired by that, I created these images that recede back behind the wall, cut, I don't know, like maybe 7 inches back into the drywall. And there are these layers of plexiglass that recede behind, and then they're backlit on a really dark wall in this building in Miami. And it was really fun to work on that one too.
How do you start thinking on that large a scale? All of the visual arts that I create are so small. They're on my, on my kitchen table. And
Yeah.
how do you start thinking that big?
It was through the process of creating a proposal, really. That one, I mean, I always work, at a smaller scale as well. I mean, some a little bit larger, but that was, I was tasked with, or, invited to apply for this project that would be for a large space. So I was sort of forced to think of it at a larger scale. And going back, through other projects, I had this sort of semi-transparent piece of paper with this design I had printed on it, and I had been in my studio and I was just like looking for space to hang it up. And this was when I was at grad school in Michigan at Cranbrook, and there was this radiator behind me, sort of like receded back behind the wall, and I just happened to hold the piece up and it fit perfectly in front of the radiator. And so I just hung it up and backlit it with this red lamp, and it happened in a second. But that piece, when I was going through all of my works, that definitely inspired the later piece. It's like, oh, you can have, something embedded in the architecture, sort of this architectural intervention in this unexpected place. Yeah, it was just sort of an organic process over years to get to a larger scale. And I think I can go larger still, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. And I love theater so much. I'm not at all, an expert, but whenever I love to see theater when I'm in New York, it's just, you just feel it differently. And I mean, I love film too, also so amazing. But when you're sitting in front of, these incredible actors, you're just like, you feel the emotion differently.
It's pretty
And I love
special.
that it's
Yeah.
different every time too, like really incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the live, there's nothing quite like the live. Like the live version. And I love to say, you don't go to the bar afterward to talk about everything that went right. You always go to talk about all the things that went wrong. It's the immediacy of it. How wrong things can go so quickly is part of the excitement of it.
I guess the continued existence of theater versus film is an example of the AI thing we were just talking about, right? Film did not replace theater. It just is different, and people still seek out theater to the point Molly just made, like, because they want that experience. They want it right there. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you, Molly. Thank you for coming and talking with us.
Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Molly, it was such a pleasure. Thank you. I can't wait to see your work next time I'm in Florida.
Thanks, Joey. It was great to meet you. Great to see you again, Dan, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank
Talk
you.
to you soon. Wait, before you go, we're supposed to put our sunglasses on for a second.
Of course. I do.
All right, there we go. All right. Bye, Molly.
Bye.
Thanks, Molly. Bye.
See you.
There we go.
She's lovely.
Yeah, she's great, right? So you'll have to come down when you're down here. We'll go check out her studio and all that. And she's got a bunch of other artists in there as well that do some cool stuff. So
Yeah, it sounds like a really terrific project.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
something
for
that
sure.
she, like we were saying, it wasn't something she didn't originally start out like, let me create studio spaces for people. She just sort of fell into that. I love that.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, it was good to chat with you.
Nice talking with you, friend.
We'll see you again either on our next podcast or in person when we're up there.
Sounds good.
All right, cool. See you
Bye.
later. Bye.